We have all seen pieces of cabbage drowning in a sea of mayonnaise, and guys, coleslaw doesn't have to be like that. Today I want to test 4 coleslaw recipes from around the world. That's of course a classic American Southern, then a hearty and savory German Krautsalat, but also a refreshing Lebanese cabbage salad, and yes, even in Myanmar, there's a Southeast Asian take on cabbage salad, I guess, because that's literally what coleslaw is. So let's prove that coleslaw can be delicious, nutritious, cheap, and yes, even exciting. Of course, everything starts with cabbage. You want to get a big heavy knife and carefully cut it in half first and then into quarters. See that dense thing in the middle? That's the core of the cabbage, the stem. It's tough and woody, so we need to remove that from each of the quarters first. Then all there's left to do is slicing the cabbage thinly across the grain to get these fine, crunchy slivers. You can totally also grate or shred the cabbage. You're gonna get much smaller pieces, but you know, sometimes that's even desirable if, let's say, you're using it as a topping for something. But if you're using it like as a standalone salad, which is my preferred way, I would really stick to hand slicing it because you just get like a really nice texture. They almost turn out like cabbage noodles or something. Speaking of texture, there's a crucial step I will definitely recommend, and that's curing your cabbage by salting it. About half a tablespoon of salt for a head of cabbage should do. You then really want to give it a good mix and squeeze, you know, scrunch it up, bruise it, until you notice that the cabbage got quite a bit more tender. The point of this step is to pull out excess moisture from the cabbage. If you don't, you might get a swampy pool of juice at the bottom of your coleslaw bowl. I know some people actually like that, but I sure don't. So everything depends on how wet you like your slaw. You can go anywhere from a half-hour cure up to overnight. This is how much water my cabbage released after a roughly 45-minute cure, after which it's nice and tender, yet still crunchy and ready to get dressed. Just one more note on the cabbage before we move on, and that is the color of the cabbage. I know a lot of people like to use red cabbage, sometimes in combination with white cabbage, and I mean, there's not much wrong with that, except for the fact that the color is gonna leach out over time and turn everything pink. If you just want to make a quick slaw and then eat all of it right away, you know, family style, then that's really not a big deal. But I do recommend making coleslaw ahead of time. It actually gets quite a bit better as it sits for at least a few hours. And in that case, both the salt cure and using white cabbage only will help you to keep moistness and color right where you want them to be. Now let's begin with a classic American Southern style coleslaw. Not too different from what you can find at KFC, only much tastier. To a pound of cabbage, I'll add julienne carrots, finely sliced sweet onions, and then, yes, mayo. Okay, this is the one time we'll be using mayo in this video. And you know, it's not like I'm completely opposed to using mayo in coleslaw. In fact, I think it's actually quite good, but you have to use it in moderation. I'm using like a 1/4 cup of mayo for a pound of cabbage, and that's totally enough. Now, to amp up the flavor, I'm also adding white vinegar, some sugar for the classic sweet note, a few cracks of pepper, and of course, celery seed powder. According to my research, that's the signature spice that makes American coleslaw. Give everything a very good mix. I like to just get in there with my hands, and you'll get a coleslaw that can easily rival the Colonel's. Do not forget that this definitely gets better as it sits over time, so that's exactly what I did. I rested this overnight, and now I'm ready to try my KFC style Southern coleslaw, whatever, and see how good it is. Yes. Nice and crunchy. I'm quite impressed. Even with the salting and the overnight rest, this turned out pretty crunchy. Just the right amount of mayo that makes it nice and creamy without overpowering it with globbiness. Also, I gotta say, I definitely approve of celery seeds as a spice for this.